Welcome back to the Olga S Show. I'm your host, Olga. How you doing? Welcome. If it's your first time here, awesome to have you. If you've been here before, welcome back, my love. And make sure to smash that like button if you like this content. If you're just happy to see me, spread the love, honey. The algorithm, it's all about that. That's the, you guys can help me so many ways. And I thank you for all the support you give me in all the ways that you do. But definitely smashing that like button is a big one. Easy, right? Well, I have a special guest for you guys today. It's kind of a surprise. Well, it is a surprise because I didn't say anything. Unless you've been watching me, and then you know I've been talking about how he's been a guest before and he's back again. I'm so excited. And I can't wait to add him on. He's gonna join us right in a second. Yeah. And make sure to comment, whether it's in the live chat, the replay, if you watch the replay. Your comments are my fuel. I do read them and I will respond. All right. Without further ado, let me welcome Mr. Robert Pheonix.
Hey, Olga, what's happening? How are you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm moving into my Monday here, and this is my shot of double espresso with you.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I have my water because I'm thinking, we're going to talk.
Yeah.
So, mentioning that, I had a coffee. Well, a little bit. I'm not supposed to have coffee, but I love it because I'm already hyper. But anyway, so we didn't really plan on what to talk about.
No, we're coming in kind of warm. Like the plate is warm, but we're gonna stick it in the microwave and we're gonna heat it up.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I wanted to ask you about, did you see anything that I saw? I don't know if it was yesterday. I saw trending and I saw it again. Well, not trending, but I just kept popping up on my feed on Twitter that George Soros is dead.
They've been talking about Soros being dead for a while.
Right.
I've been hearing about that for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months now. Yeah, I mean, I have really mixed feelings about Soros in general. Did you ever see the movie, one of the Iron Man movies where Ben Kingsley plays the Mandarin? Did you ever see that Iron Man film?
I've watched Iron Man. I think I definitely watched the first one, and I think I probably even saw the second one.
So there's one of the episodes or one of the installments is there's this evil character named the Mandarin, and he's played by Ben Kingsley, who is really a kind of a washed up actor, and they have this whole kind of studio thing and all these special effects. He's sort of like the Wizard of Oz in some ways. Like he's real, but he's not the character that they portray him to be. And for a very long time, I've often felt that is actually George Soros.
That's the guy? Is that the guy?
Yeah, but George Soros is the Mandarin. And I feel like there's this weird mythology around George Soros, and he made all of his money theoretically on the silver market and shorting a bunch of stuff in England, and that's where he got the majority of his fortune. And he just feels like a character,
Yeah.
like he feels like a character. And there are people like certainly the Rothschilds, and you have the Rockefellers. You have all these, really well-funded institutional moneyed interests, and we're not even talking about like the Crown or the Black families of Venice. I mean, these are really deeply entrenched powers that have lots and lots of assets going all the way back to the 1600s and prior to that. And so George Soros to me feels like he's kind of a new kid on the block, and it almost feels like he's a character to perform a certain role with these big money interests behind him. So it doesn't even really feel like he's real. I mean, I know he's real because he theoretically has interviews but he doesn't seem to me to be the power player that everybody seems to think he is. He feels like a front. That's what
I love that you said that. I was just on a call earlier, and I mentioned that, and they're like, "No, I haven't heard that," but like, because the question was, is it a hoax? And then we talked about like the Queen of England, where I believe she was dead before they announced it. That's just me.
Yeah.
And so regardless, but here's what my thing was with Soros, with everyone's like, "Oh, he's dead," right? And I saw some of the threads and the responses, and I go, why is it that people or the world gives him so much clout? Like one guy. So if he's dead, they're all saved. You know, the evil villain is gone. I'm going, one guy's
Right.
got all that
Right.
power, and us, our own power, we don't have any power, because you know how most people think one person can't make a difference, right?
Right.
That
Right.
one guy, he's got the whole world in his pocket.
Right.
What?
Right. Right. Well, I mean, you could do a paper trail on Soros, and if you start with the Tides Foundation, which is a really big part of his kind of nonprofit foundational network, there's just all these umbrella foundations beneath the Tides Foundation, and you can see where the money is being moved, right? But where is really the money coming from? I mean, we know that, again, the mythology is that he made a bunch of money, I believe, shorting the silver market one time in England, and actually helped crash the English economy. Well, who does that sound like? That sounds like the Rothschilds,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When the Rothschilds made, theoretically their fortune when it was
Napoleon, right?
purported that Napoleon had won the war, and they actually capitalized on that, right? They bought all these stocks that people were selling. It's kind of like the modern version of the Rothschilds. Gee, I wonder why. So
Not funny, but I got you. I like that.
but you can, so he made this kind of big initial killing, but nobody ever talks about how somebody like George Soros maintains their wealth. Like, where else are they getting their money from? Is it just from interest bearing accounts? Is it money laundering? Like, nobody really goes into the specifics as to how George Soros stays rich, right? Like, nobody really talks about that. They just assume that he has this unlimited well of funds that he could draw from. I feel like he's more like a Mandarin character and a bagman, and that there are forces behind George Soros. And so let's say he is supposedly dead. I think he has a son named Alex. Is that right? Alexander Soros. We'll just move him into the position, and they'll just have a new bagman. So anyway, dead or not, I just question who George Soros is to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I was trying to find out, like, where did he come from, right? And the story is, including himself mentioned it in at least one interview, where he was Jewish, but then his parents put him in with his uncle or a friend. Was it a friend, maybe?
Yeah. So
hide him from the Nazis.
Yeah. But he
To
goes
pretend
around
that he was German.
Right. Starts pointing out where all the Jews live. Right.
Yeah.
And
he doesn't feel any remorse about it at all. He's like, pfft.
Well, I think that's a really interesting video, because it's not that's really not about Soros, although theoretically it is. It's about a mindset, and that mindset exists everywhere. If I don't do it, somebody else will, right? So that's why we're in a world of hurt, because there's always going to be somebody who's going to take the 40 pieces of silver, right? So it's like, well, shit. If somebody else, if I don't do it, somebody else is going to get the 40 pieces of silver. And that's exactly, the mindset that is the mindset that dominates our world.
Yep. I agree. What was on your mind? What do you think is the most important thing right now?
Well,
for anyone?
I live in Texas, so
The border.
the border is an absolute mess. It's not just the state of the border, but it's also all the bureaucracy and the administration that surrounds the whole border issue, and not just from a federal level, but from even a state level. So, for instance, Greg Abbott,
Yeah.
who's the governor of Texas, and I've never been an Abbott fan, for a number of reasons, but he decided that he was going to send the Texas State National Guard down to kind of support the border situation. And what do they wind up doing? They wind up helping these quote unquote migrants get on the buses, right? Like, that's their job. Like they're actually kind of working hand in glove with the ICE or the DHS or whoever the immigration authorities are down at the border. They're working hand in glove, and they're just moving these people onto these buses, and they're getting them set up with cell phones, $1,000 debit card immediately, and then they're basically busing them to Tyler, Texas, where they have a small airport there, and then they're flying them to wherever they want to go in the United States. In some cases, if they have no place to go, they'll fly them to whatever city that they think would be the best fit for them. And the best fit for them in this case are going to be red states or red cities. So you'll see waves of migrants showing up in places like Montana and South Dakota, and Arkansas, and they won't go to Florida because I think Ron DeSantis has probably kind of got that covered to some extent. But you know what I'm saying. They're not going to take them to Berkeley, California, or San Francisco or Portland. They're going into the heart of America, right? This is what's happening. So this is a big deal. And I think the figures are about 30,000 per month. Wrap your head around that, right? That's going to be close to 500,000 people a year, and we have over a year until the theoretical next election. So we're getting close to about 1 million people that are going to be coming into this country over the next year, unabated, unchecked, and all the things that go along with it. And they're not just Venezuelans who are trying to scurry out of Venezuela because
they're starving. They're like criminals.
Well, there's also you're getting a lot of Chinese nationals.
I saw that.
That are coming through. You're getting, and this always blows my mind. You're getting Africans that are coming up through the. Well, how do they get there? Right. How do they get to South America? I mean, the whole thing is just really utterly bizarre. There's a period of time. It was during when Trump was president, and it wasn't just this Section 42 or Title 42, whatever they want to call it. But there was a time where if we were just looking at Mexico as being the feeder country for migration, that was really slowing down. It was like Mexico, the people in Mexico were like, you know what? We might have it better here. Right. I mean, they were coming sort of to that conclusion. And of course, it was making it more difficult for anybody, Mexican nationals or Salvadorans, whomever, to come here. But they were already starting to taper off in terms of their kind of migration, I guess, patterns, if you want to use that term. So they were going deeper into Central America. They were going into places like Guatemala and Salvador, and bringing people up from those areas, because the Mexicans were like, you know what, we're kind of good here. We don't really see this as an opportunity as much anymore. And now they've extended that even further into South America. And of course, you're seeing, these refugees coming up from Venezuela is a, really difficult place, very, very difficult place. And they tried to do a regime change when Trump was in office, and it didn't work. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that there were people that were still embedded inside the Trump White House that were leftovers from the Obama White House. And so, there were some loose lips there. And, whatever you feel about Trump and regime changes, you're either dealing with, the strong man that's in Venezuela now, or the new strong man who would be kind of more in alignment with the United States and, sort of the pro-West, pro-capitalist ideology, probably pro-Zionist too. So that Maduro stayed. And Maduro is a typical Latin American strongman. They love them. They love their Latin American strongmen in South America. It's like, it's just weird, It's just, and you can see that the sort of the paper trail for socialism, because they've really given it a lot of play in South America. Yeah. And the paper trail for socialism in South America is a disaster. And yet they keep going back to the well again and again and again. And they always say, well, this guy's going to do it differently. Oh, they're not going to be like Fidel. Fidel he let it get to his head. There was too much power. But it always winds up the same. It doesn't matter who it is, because that's the way the system in that model is tilted. There's no checks and balances. The only checks and balances are on the so-called middle class. And once the middle class is eradicated, then you have a wide bandwidth of poverty. And then you have a very, very small elite class that manages all the assets. I mean, if you're somebody who's into power, communism, with or hardcore socialism, boy, that's your model. You want that. Like, you want that model. It has nothing to do with the people whatsoever. And that's why it fails again and again and again. And Latin America has like this Stockholm syndrome. It's just bizarre. And I think we're kind of inching closer towards that here in this country. And so that's what we're dealing with now. We're dealing with a bunch of people who are in a situation that is completely untenable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even the cards, even the ATM cards that they're giving them, I'm not sure. I haven't been able to really find out for sure. I don't think they're getting them refilled. You know what I'm saying? Like, ultimately, once they get dropped off where they get dropped off, they run out of money and they're hungry and they have to do whatever they have to do to eat, to survive.
Right. Like let's start robbing people.
Yeah.
Right. Let's start organizing and creating gangs, because that's what happens.
Yeah.
Anytime there's an immigrant class that comes to a new country, what do? They hang out and then they organize and they find a way to basically hijack the system. I mean, you can just see it. Every immigrant class has their own version of gangs and mafia. It's not uncommon, right? This is what happens. So yeah, that's true.
Yeah, especially with a different culture, a different background. Again, regardless of whether they're criminals or not criminals. But did you see that video? There's a couple videos. I forget who it was that posted it, but this is like a week ago tops, where it's in El Paso and they're walking by all these immigrants sitting on the sidewalk, and the immigrants started yelling back and saying like really nasty things and like, get out of my face kind of a thing. And they're saying it in Spanish, so I understand everything, regardless of like the subtitles. Some of the stuff they were spewing was in English, but they're just like, and so the guy that was filming them, I don't know if it was Red Voice Media or who exactly, or if it was a Rebel News. It was I think it was one of those, but I don't know. But they were like, this is attitude these people have, like some of them anyway, right? I would say a lot of them, where they're like, screw you, like, we don't care about your country. You know what I mean? Like, they're angry. They're desperate. They're burned out in their own country. They're coming here. And I know a lot of people might be saying, oh, they have expectations, right? They were told we're going to be taken care of. Nah. And I should have queued up that video. I was going to talk. I was thinking about that. We would talk about the border situation. I should have pulled that video up. But as a Spanish person, as someone who speaks Spanish, and I've been in Latin America, and I've worked with Latin Americans for years as a translator in court and in hospitals and in so many different ways. And they confide in me, right? Because although I look, in quote, white, they know like I'm a Spaniard. Like to them, there's a clear difference with my accent just alone, regardless of my looks. In fact, usually if they don't know exactly where I'm from, they'll be like, are you from Venezuela? No, sorry. Take that back. Argentina. So if they can't guess it's Spain, they'll always go to Argentina. So they have their stereotypes, right? And so I'm in one of those stereotypes, and they'll confide in me in a way they won't to like a regular American, right? Or somebody who's not their color or their ethnicity or background. And the way they talk, when I was listening to these guys on camera, granted, they're living on the street. You know what I mean? They're probably burnt out, lack of sleep, fighting within each other, feeling, I'm sure, some levels of, racism because they're illegal immigrants and people are pissed at what's happening for safety reasons, just for that alone. But, they're already taking the defense like it's a us against them, like race wars versus we're an immigrant and no wonder you're pissed off. Now, the way that they were talking to this guy, as an interpreter, you don't just interpret the words, you interpret the body language, you interpret the inflection in the words. And I'm like, damn, they're hostile. Like, this is not a typical immigrant, whether it's a legal immigrant or not, because I've met illegal immigrants that are the sweetest, hardworking people you'd ever want to meet.
Right.
and they do whatever it takes to stay, work under the table, do whatever to not get in trouble, But this is a whole new wave. Not like, so I don't even think it was just those guys on the sidewalk. I think it's like the majority. The vibe that I'm getting, like, with the cartels being involved, with little kids being, tied up on trees. And, my audience knows I don't like to talk about bad news because I'm all about like lifting spirits up at the very, even we are bitching about the current events. But I think at the same time, one of the things I always think is that I repeat myself too much because everyone else is talking about, like, I'll talk about something that 50 other channels or content, or whether it's the so-called news talking about it. And I'm like, how can I say it different? But at the same time, I realize, but we have to have a conversation.
Right. Well, I think the big challenge for a lot of people that are outside of this country, especially coming from places like Central and South America, is that they are dealing with situations that feel absolutely hopeless.
Yes.
Like there's no hope there. It's kind of a cul-de-sac for their lives, and they're angry, right? And it's probably in some ways easy to point a finger at, in this case it'd be the North versus the West, right? It's like, well, you created this situation, and now I'm here and the situation is coming home to roost, right? Like we are the progeny of what you created, so deal with us, right? And I don't think they necessarily have maybe that level of I don't know, vengeance, I guess, social vengeance. Maybe they do. I don't know. I don't hang out, but I do know that their situations are totally hopeless. I was watching this video, and it's this guy who travels around the world. He's really funny. He's called Bald Headed and Bankrupt, and he's this English guy. He goes to all these different countries, and he speaks pretty decent Spanish. And he went to Colombia recently. I think he was in Bogota, and he was in sort of the town's center square of Bogota.
You said bald-headed and what? Just real quick.
Bald-headed and bankrupt.
All right, continue.
He's very funny. And he's in Colombia, and he's in the town square. It's either Medellin or Bogota, one of the two. I forget which one, but it's one of those two cities. And it was a shithole. It was a total shithole. And it was like, wow, this is the height of your culture. This is your town square. And maybe it was much better 20 years ago or 30 years ago, whatever, right? But now is in such disrepair. And he kept running into.
Is this the guy?
Yes, Bald and Bankrupt. That's him. Yeah, he's a good follow.
And he's Colombian?
No, he's English.
Oh, that's what you said. I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's from England, but he's a good follow. So the first thing he ran into in Colombia was Venezuelans. And most of them were young women. Well, why were they there? Well, they can't make any money in Venezuela. So they go to Colombia, and what are they doing in Colombia? Well, they're turning tricks, right? That's what they're doing. So you have all these young women who are selling their bodies in Colombia. Colombia just elected a socialist president, right? So they're on their way to socialism. So it's a really bad situation in the South. And then theoretically, like, what's the answer, right? The answer is to make the places that they live better so that they don't have to leave.
Right.
That's really the answer. So how do you go about doing that? Well, first of all, there is a model, and it's in place in Chile. And in Chile, I think it was the 80s, when Pinochet brought in Milton Friedman and a bunch of economists from Chicago. And they went in and they basically said, look, you're going to do these things. You're going to get as close to the free market as possible. You're going to privatize a lot of these government institutions that you've decided to take on, and you can't take it on because it's not your job, right? And so what happened to Chile? Chile's economy outpaced just about everybody else's in Latin America. Like, it wasn't even close, right? And eventually now they have this new guy in Chile who's a socialist. And So they actually had a vote, which kind of blows my mind, but they had a vote recently to roll back some of the Pinochet reforms, and the public actually voted against it. So now they have a guy who's ideologically opposed to a free market economy and capitalism, and he's listened to the will of the people, and he's like, okay, well, I guess I can't do that now. So, I mean, that's one way that you make it better. You improve the standard of living, in those places. The problem with Chile was that Pinochet, once things, like, he was open to the change, but he was still a tyrant. And that's the other side of Latin America. You either get a strong man on the left or you get a strong man on the right. Right? There's no kind of moderation between the two. And so Pinochet was one of these characters who was the strong man on the right, and the system was kind of baked in, so he couldn't completely hijack the system. But he also wasn't the best kind of servant of the system either. But it's better than anything else right now in Latin America. So let's take Venezuela, for instance. Venezuela produces a huge amount of oil, right? They're big oil producers. So what have we done in this country recently? Well, as soon as Biden got into office, he stopped the pipelines.
And he sent oil to China, didn't he?
Right. He stopped the pipelines.
Not funny, but yeah.
Right. Stop the pipelines. And then eventually they put a halt to purchasing oil from the Russians, although they were doing it. So where are we getting the majority of our oil from now? Venezuela. So Venezuela is doing really, really well in terms of oil production, distribution, and sales. United States, big customer, really big. But where's that money going to in Venezuela? Is it going to the people? No, it's not. Mm-mm. It's going to the Maduro regime and allowing them to buy more arms, build more military infrastructure.
More oppression.
Right, exactly. So if you wanted to change the situation in Venezuela, you would immediately stop buying Venezuelan oil. You would cut them off, right? And then theoretically, on the other side, and I know a lot of people are against fracking and things like that. Fracking has some challenges and issues. Mm-hmm. But with the pipeline, Keystone Pipeline is coming from Canada, coming through the United, you would open that back up, and it takes a while to get that thing going. And think about all the jobs that were lost during that time too. I mean, huge amounts of jobs. But that's the first thing you would do is you would put the pressure on Venezuela. And then the people would then ultimately get tired of Maduro. But then if you were really smart, you couldn't just stick in some kind of Zionist sock puppet, which they wanted to do originally. I can't even remember the guy's name, but you would basically have a government in Venezuela that would be closer to the Pinochet government or the Pinochet model that was based on Milton Friedman's economic theories, which did really well. But that's not where the world is now. The world is not there. The world is in the World Economic Forum model. And then in smaller countries, like, say, Guatemala or El Salvador or Costa Rica, what I would do is I would just forgive their debt, right? Like, if you're the United States, if you're the United States, you sit down and you have like a conversation with the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund and say, look, we're going to pick up their debt, and we're going to clear their debt. So therefore, what you do at that point is you break the contractual agreement that they have with their debt. And if people have ever read Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John,
I was just going to say that. I'm like, are you in my head right now? I was just going to say the Economic Hitman. Right. That's their model, right? And that's where the dollars collapsed.
Yeah.
Gold is going up. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the model is that they'll create some kind of conflict or strife inside of a country.
Right.
And it could be an economic conflict. They could be devaluing their whatever currency they're using. and then there's other things that this is all manufactured. And so then you have somebody who's, a dictator, banana republic, whatever, and they don't know what to do, right? Because the last thing that they want is for the people to come running to the palace because they don't have any food or the prices of things are through the roof. And then he gets strung up in the town square. So then they'll do a deal with the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. And so they'll get all this money, right? So that they can throw it at the problem, but they don't know what to do. They're not equipped to have a long-term solution to the crises in their countries. And then part of the deal is for those countries to sign their resources up for perpetuity, right? So they don't have a say in, like, for instance, we'll use Guatemala and bananas. Like they can't say to United Fruit or whomever, hey, we want to nationalize banana production. No, they can't do that because their resources are they're accounted for, right? That's part of it. And I guess the other part was, hey, look, if we need a vote at the UN, we're going to get your vote, right? Those were the kind of the big selling factors. But then what happens is that they blow through that money, and then they're screwed, and the country is left over with not only the debt that has not been repaid, but also the national debt that's related to the resources. So if I was the United States, I'd pinpoint about 4 of those countries and just go in and pay their debt off. Just pay the debt off and say, okay, we have a new relationship now, right? And we're going to give you a bit of a fresh start. Now, the United States is going to want to get something out of that deal. They're not just going to be altruistic. They could play the role of, instead of the IMF or the World Bank, they could be the entity that is connected to the resources. Now, it may be a different relationship, maybe one that's not so onerous, but they have to get something out of the deal. But the deal ultimately is to make those places better, right? So that people don't want to leave. And instead, what we've seen is this kind of Malthusian crisis that has been set up where it is almost impossible in some of these countries to have a reasonable life. And so, of course, they're going to leave. And to your point, Olga, what happens to the individual in those places where they're living and how their psychology is created, right? The psychological part is really important because they're creating a whole subsect of people who, again, have no hope, and they're looking to these institutions who theoretically have been the cause of their problems. So now we're getting a group of people who are not grateful, which is what you were talking about, but they have resentment and they have a bit of a vendetta, and that's not a good mix.
Mm-mm. Um, well, the kind of things I would actually say, advice wise, insight wise, or any kind of empowerment, I won't say it on YouTube because you know why. So, like, I will definitely, for those that are already joined me on Locals, or if you haven't joined me on Locals, because I have an answer. I mean, I'm all about solutions. Just talking about it is part of it, right? Because the more you hear about it, the more the conversation, the more you can make a better decision or see the truth, dissect it, critical thinking. But then at the end of the day, like, what do you do? How can we stop it? Because everything you were saying, the overall thing that I kept seeing and feeling was how doesn't matter what the plan is. Doesn't matter if the plan hasn't worked and what they should do, like say, like relieve the debts, like let them go. I thought the same thing. But at the end of the day, we're talking about incompetent leaders. That why are we looking at the same incompetent leaders? Like I would take out all of Congress. Like I'd fire everybody. As a life coach, I would literally fucking fire everybody. It's that simple. There's no way that anybody would be left in office. If they give me 2 weeks in there, everyone's gone. And believe me, the country runs itself because people have to go to work. People work. So like, nobody's showing up at all the bills that they pass, and then nobody shows up. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene, not that I'm into her. I still think she's they're all shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Period in the story. I don't care. I don't give you like, well, do you like this girl? Do you like, I mean, I do like her versus another politician, but this woman bought, she invested in arms right before the war in Ukraine. But I don't blame her if she's thinking, well, I got to make money. I've said this before. So for those who know me,
if I don't do it, somebody else will.
Right.
It's the
So
same
I get
mindset,
that.
right? It's the same mindset.
Right. But at the end of the day, now you're all gone. All of you. WF gone. Like,
well, I mean,
it's more of us than them. What the fuck?
It gets down to really what the function of government at a national level should be. Right. I mean, if we really want to boil it down to its basics.
You're going to take my money. You're going to suck the life out of me. You're going to put me in situations I don't want to be in. What's the point of the government? The government, if anything, protect me. I get that part. Hey, build an army in case we have an invader. Okay. You take some of my money to protect me. That's not what's happening.
The federal government's role should only be the following: to create and protect a safe border. That's number one. Number two, and this one to me is even, I think, kind of on the fence, is to have a standing army. Like even that one, I think, is borderline because of what's happened to the military industrial complex.
Right.
To be able to honor and negotiate interstate commerce, because that's a big deal, because not every state is the same when it comes to like freight and stuff like that. So the federal government does play a role in this idea of interstate commerce. So protect the border, maybe a standing army, and then maintain interstate commerce and make sure that the highways are kept up. And, there's a general set of rules for all 48 states here.
But why should we pay more, for example?
But that's it. But that's really it.
I agree with you. I like that.
That's all they should do.
Yeah.
Everything else should be at the state level. All of it should be at the state level at that point. Because
why am I paying more for eggs, for example? Like, don't give me this inflation shit. Like, let's talk like layman's terms. That's bullshit. Like, no, I shouldn't have to pay more because of your decisions. Did I allow you to make the decision? Even if I think I voted for you because I think that's rigged, I don't give a shit. You two better not fucking be up my ass about this because there's just no way.
Their malfeasance is disguised as incompetence. Right.
I love that. That was almost poetic there, if not poetic.
Well, it's true.
Thank you, Robert.
They run around pretending they're incompetent. They're not incompetent. They know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, but they're to me, they think, okay, now. Okay, I get you. But my thing is, this shit's gonna bite them in the ass too. Okay? Like no matter how much money or how much power they think they have that we're continuing to allow them to have, they are going to be affected by this influx of migrants or immigrants, or they're going to be affected one way or the other. They think they're going to live in their castle and they're going to have their protections and everything's going to be a-okay. It's so short-term thinking. You know what I'm saying? It's like, do they don't think they're going to die, or they just don't give a shit?
Well, no. So here's what the long-term plan and goal is ultimately. Right. They want to trash this whole idea and concept of the United States of America.
Yes.
Right. They want in 25 or 30 years, they want people, let's say 50 years, they want to be able to look back in the history books and say that this was a horribly failed experiment, that it was ultimately taken over by fill in the blank, whatever kind of group.
Yeah.
Systemic racism, colonialism, whatever, right?
Or that people cannot govern themselves. You know what I'm saying? That we need this.
Whatever. But there's got to be a fall guy.
Yeah.
Right. There's got to be a fall guy, and they're going to say that this is the reason why this no longer exists, and why it was a total failure, and why we can never have it ever happen again.
Yes.
Right? So this is where this is all going.
Yes.
Because they'll have a global model, and the global model will look back on this idea of the United States of America, and it'll be like, yeah, it's a good thing we don't have that anymore. Right. So the people who are socially engineering this, they're just going to wait this thing out. Right. They're going to wait this out. They're going to wait out the sea change. we're dealing with a replacement society, which is coming across the borders, and the replacement society will be engaged to some degree in rebuilding this collapsed society that they're going all in on right now, right? So the replacement society will theoretically then be educated in the new schools, will be given the new social theories, and they're going to be the ones that will carry out whatever kind of, I don't know, day-to-day responsibilities that the elites will have them carry out, right? So this is the plan. This is totally the plan. They want to completely eradicate this country, what it stands for, what the dream was, and even to a large extent, its ethnographic population. They want it gone. They want it all gone,
Mhm.
and they wanted to have people look in the rearview mirror historically and just say, man, it was vile, it was bad. Like
People can't handle their freedom.
they want to have the same kind of effect 50 years from now that most Americans have by looking at Nazi Germany. Right? That's the same thing they want. The same kind of branding. And I'm not sure they're going to get it, but the process to create this this beast, this monster, right? That they're really turning this country into. It's going to take a toll on people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to me, I know, I'm sure you've said it. Many of us have said it. I know I've said it many times, but clearly when you educate people to be ignorant, funny that I use the word educate, right? But when you make people, ignorant, illiterate in a sense, you can do whatever you want, honestly. And if you don't never teach the last 2 decades of now young kids, and granted, I know you have a lot of faith in Gen Z, and so do I, but predominantly, it's not just the last 2 decades, right? It's at least 4 decades of people just.
Well, I think there's a cutoff. I really do think there's a cutoff. I think the cutoff is probably Gen X. I think Gen X is kind of the cutoff. I think Gen X is kind of the last generation that has a connection to sort of the way America used to be, right? Gen X is sort of like this. And what's interesting about Gen X is that most of them have Pluto and Libra in their charts. And when you look at Libra, which is the 7th sign in the zodiac, right, it's sort of this halfway point between the bottom part of the chart and the upper part of the chart. So Gen X is the border, Libra is the border. And then once you cross the border, you're into, the millennials, Pluto and Scorpio, who are very, very different and have a very different cultural zeitgeist. So I think that the majority of people that, this is just my opinion, that are, and there are some people, by the way, who probably have a fairly high IQ and have had like this education that is based on critical race theory or critical theory. They think they're really, really smart. They think they're really, really smart because they have, all the critical theory talking points that if you, follow them to some degree, they make sense. Right. But at a certain level, if you, not even at a certain level, if you take them out of their talking points, they have nothing to say. Right. If you take them out of their critical theory framework, they have no ability to do a different kind of lateral or associative thinking or even logical rational processing. But in their framework, they're really bright, right? So it's a different type of ignorance. Like it's an ignorance again that is completely masquerading as something else, right? They believe that they're smart, they believe that they're intelligent, they believe that they understand the social ills of our system based on their education and their what I would call programming. But take them out of that, and they're
That's
it's
it.
like it's
That's
like
the right
taking
word. It's the programming.
yeah, it's like taking somebody out of the city and sticking them in a rural area. Say, here you go, figure out how to live here. without some of the things that, without going to Starbucks, right? Without being able to go to X, Y, or Z, figure out how to live in this area for the next 6 months and let's see how you do. They're just like a duck out of water in that regards. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and I think you can see a real sea change in education at a college level, really starting in like the late 80s and the early 90s. Like that's starting to take place. I graduated in 1984, and so I was an English major in college, and there was no hint of critical theory at all in my curriculum in 1984. And I went to San Francisco State, which is now one of these hotbeds and nests of like critical theory and social engineering. It didn't even exist then. The closest we got was sort of the new school of criticism that came out of Chicago, which was kind of the big deal back then. But it wasn't critical theory. It was something else. So somewhere between when I graduated in 1984 and somewhere in the 90s, the social the curriculum began to change. And when the curriculum changed, the people that were going into these institutions became different. And so it started there. And now we're seeing this trickle down effect all the way down now into third, second, first grade, right? And now they're getting educated about, non-binary and all the gender issues, and throwing in, this kind of random perverse sexuality. So that's where we are now. I mean, all that stuff which started at the college level has just kind of ripped through all these different layers all the way down to the elementary school. And to your point, Oregon, I think, just eliminated most mathematics and arithmetic for their early grade education. Think about that for a minute.
Here I don't know if it was exactly just in Philly, the city, but in this area, a few months ago, or maybe even a year ago now, I found out that, first of all, they gave tablets to all the inner city kids. Okay. So this is not like charter school or private schools. They no longer had to write. They no longer are taught cursive. I found that out a couple years ago.
That was going on with my kid. And I remember he was learning cursive when he was in California. And that was, he was in grade school, I think around in a meaningful way, around 2009, 2010. Right. So he was going into kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and they were actually learning cursive there. And when he got to Texas and he went to a school in Texas and was doing cursive, they told him not to write that way. This is Texas, by the way. So this has been going on in my memory since at least 2011, 2012, 2013, since 2013. So I think we're at least 10 years deep into this kind of commandment, and writing cursive develops a different part of the brain.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You know how we discussed before, even behind the scenes, about men, masculinity, the culture of men all over the world, not just the US. So I've been, ever since, March, I believe it's March 27th, that I said, okay, I'm revamping the show here. So predominantly, I still do, not predominantly, but I still do like the trending news, but mostly I want to get into the men, anything about men. And whether it's even like part of a reaction video, which I think it's the video I've had the most views and comments so far, was a reaction to Dax's last song called "To Be a Man." And I've had a lot of comments, and I've been responding to the comments, not just in the comment section, but in the lives. But, I keep saying, like, I invite them to come over, and I don't know if pick your brain is the right word, but I just got a comment yesterday to my latest video, and it wasn't the Dax one. It's because my latest video, I titled it, we talked about the whole Twitter and the new CEO BS, and there was this recommendation for Tom McDonald's 3-minute video that basically highlights, surveillance, New World Order kind of a thing. And I got into the whole man thing and several parts of that live. And I got a comment yesterday. I'm going to show you, because there's two things. Are you aware? I think you are, but let's just say for everyone else, check this out. You've heard this, right? Like the phthalates and how horrible they are, especially for male fertility, but just fertility in general.
Yeah.
This is one article, right? If I give me a second. If I go where I just did a search, right? Receipts, phthalates, fertility. That's all I wrote, right? Didn't even spell it right, whatnot. I mean, there's CNN talking about it. There's New York Times. Okay. So it's not just this article,
Right.
But I just don't want to give these other places any clout, but just to show that real quick. Wait, can you see that? I just want to make sure I have
sure.
that I am sharing it with the
Yeah.
public, with the audience. So one of the things I talked about, because again, it's like the concept of self-love. Now, I've worked on that forever. I'll come back to this in a second. But that's what I do. That's really my expertise, is self-love. Because I just saw somebody this morning with a t-shirt that said, love yourself. And I'm like, so we say these things, but how do you do it? Right? So I'm all about, how do you do it? I know how to do it. I had to do it. I did it. I got it. And it works for everybody. But most people just don't really even know, what does that really mean? Or even the thought of it sounds corny. Well, same thing when I approach a man and I say, hey, I know a man who is a friend of mine, has been a business mentor for me for years now. Regardless, the guy's, divorced, but has 2 daughters. Anyway, I think is he 70 now? Nah, hold on. I think he's like 65. Great shape. Now, he doesn't go to the gym all day, but he tries to eat good. He might, work out twice a week. Maybe he wants to do 5 times a week, but it's not about the look. It's not about the muscles, right? For him, it's about his libido. He wants to make sure that he is functioning till the day he dies. So if he's healthy and he can live until 80, he wants to completely be functional. And I totally with him. And not just that he wants to be functional, he wants to really be able to enjoy it right now. Like, oh, my back. Oh, this, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, sure.
I had a lover who,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I had a lover who had a hernia removed or whatever. And it was years ago, and we're making love. And I'm on my favorite position, not for everybody to know, but full disclosure on top. And he's 40 years old, right? He's young. And he goes, I think he's 4. I was 4 years younger than him. So that tells you. And he was like, oh, my hernia, stop. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you're young, you're healthy. Matter of fact, he owns a landscaping business, and he looked healthy and young and, whatever. And then all of a sudden I'm going, dude, if you're doing this now. So my whole thing is to empower men. I can't stress it enough that I'm not being paid. I don't have any sponsor telling me, what to tell people to sell their products. But this thing, for example, everywhere I go, I talk about this receipt one because it's a great conversation starter. Like, say I'm at the supermarket and they go, do you want your receipt? Right? Wherever I'm at, that I want a receipt, or they want to give me a receipt. I'm like, no, thanks. You know what that does to you, right? And the people are like, what? What's it do? So it's a great conversation starter in a sense. Not that you want to start a conversation at the checkout when people are behind you, but in my experience, people behind me are like, what was that? What was that? And it's fascinating that most people have no clue, and how important that these little things like this, of these receipts that we put in our pockets, that we touch with our hands, and we put, you know what I mean, right? Mm-hmm. Who doesn't have 1,000 receipts? I spend sometimes, a month into it where I'm like, oh my God, I got all these receipts in my bag and I'm throwing them out. And even when I say I don't want receipts. So my point is, it's not just because you being a man, but I know you're very wise. And this comment that I got on this video, this last stream that I did, can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Now, because a lot of the stuff we talk about is trauma. Like, I've done a couple videos about vets and stuff, like music videos. And I'm big into veterans and just helping people that are just being abused, At the end of the day, the underdog, the whatever you want to label it. But here's what he wrote. Maybe before you judge, you should know the person you're judging. Now, this is probably somebody who doesn't watch all my videos, because if you got to know me, I think, but then this also already tells me, or just instinctually, this person's in pain, right? Or has had a lot of pain. Their traumas, their mental health problems, their physical and current situations they find themselves in, and not everything is sexual. I forgot what I had said in the video, but I'm sure. But I'm like, I think I was just talking about just health, but okay. I'd have to watch the video again. Have you ever thought when someone has lost all their normal support and people they can turn to, they just, need someone to replace them? And when they have very little understanding of basic things because of their mental state, and everything they try is turned to hate and used to make their mental state worse until they do not want,
not what is real and
what
what
is real?
false. Food. Tell me what food has not been poisoned. Watch
Right.
the
Good
people
point.
you
And then watch the people.
you love die. Watch the ones dying. Then tell me about making right decisions.
What do you think?
Well, it's a chicken and egg sort of thing.
Right.
Right. It's like,
good point.
At some point you have to make a stand.
Thank you.
I don't know. I try not to be judgmental,
right.
but I do look at how people write their responses on certain things. And if you can't spell "there" correctly and use it in the right context, I'm sorry, you're automatically slightly disqualified. Like, come back to me when you know how to capitalize, use a period at the end of a sentence.
Right.
And throw an I in there instead of an E. Now, I know I'm being a bit harsh.
No.
But there's something to that, right?
Yes, of course. When I have clients email me going, "Hey, Olga," and I'm like, no. And like you said, no comas. I tell them, I'm like, "Hey, don't write me an email like that."
Right. That's that is the front line of order.
Exactly.
In a lot of ways.
And respect, self-respect. So take a minute. Why are you rushing? You don't appreciate me? Well, I do. Good.
I mean, this whole idea of support is an interesting one.
Yeah.
And I think societally, support has become a crutch.
Yeah. Thank you.
And it's like, unless you've got 20 people on your team rooting for you and pulling for you and supporting you, like, there's just absolutely no way that you can get through. And that's not to dismiss the idea of real support, because I think real support can be very helpful.
Yes.
But maybe we're operating at such a deficit as men, because men don't really have the support. Women have support.
But there's tough love. You know what I'm saying, Robert? I'm not going to sit here and be like,
no, there is. I mean, look.
But men have also allowed themselves to go there, right? Because if I'm a man and my mother says to me, "You got to act this way," and I'm going, "Well, do you understand?" Like, men.
So most men, I would say most men, and I'm going to be, again, ethnographic. Most white Anglo-Saxon Protestant males have been demoralized.
Right.
And it's been a demoralization campaign that's been going on for a long time. You can trace it back to second wave feminism, in the rise of second wave feminism in the late 1960s,
right?
Yeah, late 1960s. Yeah. And it's like, "I am woman, hear me roar," and and great, fine. But there's always it's really interesting. Whenever there's an empowerment movement, it's always an empowerment of one group or one group of individuals at the expense of another. Right. And to me, that's not true empowerment. True empowerment is when all boats rise. Right.
Exactly.
And so during that period. Hold a second.
Well, if you have an appointment, Robert, it's no problem. We can wrap it up.
No, but during that period, it was like, yeah, you can go into the whole thing. If you really want to look at sort of how we got here, so there's this empowerment trip going on with women. And by the way, like,
yeah, but I'm starting to see groups call themselves.
Hold on a second. Sorry. There was a time when we had this division of the sexes, and men went to work and women stayed at home, right? And some of those arrangements were good and fine, and some of them weren't.
No, exactly.
Right. So I'm not here to like do some revisionist history where, the cleavers were the ideal model. Mm-hmm. Right. Because I have, I'm a working astrologer, and I can't tell you how many clients I've had that are women whose mothers have been borderline or institutionalized because for whatever reason they couldn't cope with their situation a lot more than you think.
Mm-hmm.
So there was, I would say, a type of imbalance that was part of that lifestyle and that arrangement. And I think a lot of that has to do with the social model. So I'll give you an example. For instance, if you were to go to a farm and farm life during, say, the 1940s, right? And you had a man and a woman and a family. The woman could do everything on that farm.
Yeah, she could.
Shoot, she
Milk
could
the cow.
she could do everything,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was an equal distribution to some degree of labor in that arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would she be the one that would be charged with the preparation of the meal and the maybe some of the more domestic duties? Yes, that's true. But it didn't stop there. Like if she had, pull out a 12 gauge and, hunt something down, she could probably do it, right? So that model was more egalitarian in some ways, right? Because everybody had to pull their weight. And then when we moved into the urban and more modern model, those things changed, right? They changed. And now all of a sudden, a woman was consigned to just do certain things. And some of them thrived in that environment, a lot of them didn't. So when the 60s came around and the 70s came around and they offered women these choices for their lifestyle, like, oh, well, that's a better deal in a lot of ways, right? So that's number one. Number two, you had the introduction of birth control. And once the pill came into existence, it was a game changer.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like, okay, I don't have to just get married in order to have sex, right? And if I'm going to have sex, in most cases, unless the man is, wearing some protection, it's very good chance we're gonna have a kid, right? So the pill changes everything. The pill completely upends the social order, and it becomes the sacrament for liberation in a lot of ways, right? It is kind of the new church of social liberation. The pill for the women is the sacrament. So that's a game changer. And then they start to again sculpt this idea that women, in order to compete in a man's world, have to be more like men, right? And so you have these images of women kind of being these piranhas or these sharks because they have to overcompensate in a lot of ways in that world. So a lot of this is completely socially engineered, but at a certain point, and I'm not sure exactly when, because again, I grew up in the 60s and the 70s. Institutionally, there was a war on boys that started, and it starts in the schools. And boys who were more naturally rambunctious, right? All of a sudden, they're being designated as having attention deficit disorder.
Yeah, I remember that. My little brother went through that. Yep.
So now they got a pill for that.
And he didn't have it, by the way. Just
no. Now they got a pill for that, right? They have Adderall. So now you got a bunch of boys who are growing up popping pills and taking Adderall, which is changing their brain chemistry.
Right.
Totally changing their brain chemistry.
Now we're talking. Yes.
Right. So while all that's going on, there's this promotion. Oh, girls, be all that you can be. And they're kind of really pushing girls into STEM programs. That's all the last 10 years. And in the meantime, if you look at what boys have institutionally, things like sports, there's been a war in those things.
Yes.
Like in football, oh, you don't want to get CTE. Oh no, keep your young boys out of football, right? So there's been this institutionalization where the one area that boys can prove that they're boys and men, again, they've been dealing with these attacks on those things. And they're not ideal. I mean, theoretically, there could be other areas in which young men can prove themselves. But that was kind of the last bastion. And so what we've seen over time now is the demoralization of young men. and especially white Anglo-Saxon Protestant men, because there are other groups
that are
that
doing the
are
opposite.
outside of that, where
Yep.
they're the promotion of their potential has been highlighted. But that's coming to an end, by the way, right? So particularly inside of the Black community, because in the Black community for a long time, it's been, well, let's raise up our people, raise every voice, right? Male and female. And they've used this whole idea of critical race theory as a cudgel against everybody else, right? Divide and conquer. Now, what's happening is that you're seeing this whole trans movement, which started with LGBTQ, displace that, right? It's displacing this idea of sort of, the Black Americans' right for freedom and equality and all the things that go along with it. There's being supplanted now by 0.25% of the population. And inside of the Black community, they're starting to notice that. They're like, what the hell, right? What the hell is going on here? All of a sudden, we move slightly down the pyramid here. And the person who is at the top of the hierarchy now is going to be somebody who isn't Black like me or brown like me. It's going to be somebody who is even beyond queer like me. So there's this weird thing happening now, and I'm seeing it. And I'm seeing men inside of the Black community start to wake up. They're waking up. They're seeing what's going on. And they're like, they've been marginalized as well. It's a different marginalization. Like there's a certain group that's been kind of lionized or promoted socially. You'll find that in the hip hop world, but those are all negative images in a lot of ways. But if you look at what's happened to Black America, pre 1965, the amount of like intact Black families in the United States was somewhere in the mid 70%, which is pretty high. Mm-hmm. Like that meant that they had a mother and a father. They had a nuclear unit. Now I think we're somewhere, and I think the stats are kind of off, but now we're somewhere in the low 40s. I'm thinking it's probably more like the mid 30s, right? That's like cleaving half of that community away from both parents, which I think are essential. I don't care what color your skin is.
Absolutely.
Having both parents are essential. And I don't know if you know the story about these elephants in Africa. Do you know the story about the elephants?
Well, I know so many. Like you're talking about the women, how they actually prefer.
No. So what happened is that there was a program where I think it wasn't even a program. It was they were going after the older male elephants because of the length of their tusks. Right. It was a whole tusk thing.
Were you talking about people or the female elephant going?
No, they were hunted. The older male elephants were hunted.
Okay. So humans were hunting the males.
Right. So there was a disproportionate number of young male elephants to older male elephants. And those young male elephants rampaged. They did things that elephants don't normally do. Right. They would rampage villages. They would attack other animals.
Like teenagers, like out of control teenagers.
They would form gangs is what they would do.
No parents around, no father.
So when you took the male elephant out of the equation, it upset the balance of the the social ecology of the elephants, right? And so and we're not any different from that. So now you're starting to see, Black American males wake up. They're like, we've been fucked over, right? The state came in and replaced us. And a lot of that happened during the Vietnam War, where a lot of young Black American males got shipped off to Nam, and a lot of them didn't come back.
Right.
And while they were away, guess who moved into their homes? It was the federal government. It was the welfare programs that were set up by Johnson. And so by the time they come back from the war, it's like there's a whole new social model that's been indoctrinated into that community. So I'm watching this group of men wake up, which is a good sign. It's a very good sign. Getting back to your receipt thing with phthalates, there's the xenoestrogens that are also in that. They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. So we're looking at social engineering chemically.
Yes.
We're looking at social engineering educationally.
Yes.
We're looking at social engineering psychologically.
Yes.
I mean, this is an all-out front an all-out front in war on men.
It is
Total war on men.
total.
Yeah. and when what we have now is we got a bunch of men walking around not knowing what it's like to be a man. It's sad but true. They don't know what it's like to be a man. And then you have the whole incel community which says, fuck it. I'm tapping out. I don't need this shit. I don't need these bitches. I don't need any of it, right?
Or they go to this other extreme, like I would say probably the majority of Andrew Tate's following. You know what I mean? Where it's like, we want the cars, we want the looks, you know, and we're you know.
Well, so
we'll just buy
yeah.
women. You know what I mean?
Well,
we'll tell them to shut the fuck up because that makes me a man. It's like, oh God.
Right. So that's.
I mean, that's not it. Being a man, being responsible. I get that part from Andrew Tate. But then these guys, I mean, if you read the comments, they hate women. It's not like he's really making them love women, like be a man and love women, respect women. No, they're like, fuck that.
Well, it's a swing of the pendulum in the other direction that's just as extreme. Right. Is Andrew Tate wrong about going to the gym? No, he's not. Is Andrew Tate wrong about understanding the nature of power? No, he's not.
Right.
Where Andrew Tate is wrong is that it all becomes about self.
Right.
That's where it's wrong.
God, I should have had my little buzzer. Ding, 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 ding. Yes.
So he's giving them an incomplete manual. Right.
Robert, I have to go to the restroom. That was water. I don't know.
No comment, Olga.
Well, I don't know if you how busy you are. If you want to.
Well, why don't we just wrap it up? Because
to be continued. Yeah. I'm sorry because I can hold it, but then I'm like, well, no, I can hold it, but I also, my audience is used to me always taking a quick break. Now I'm used to it too, and I believe I also do reaction videos. That's like how I usually wrap it all up.
Right.
But yeah, so Robert, thank you so much, guys. I'll put all his links and everything on the description below, or you can just look him up, Robert Pheonix. He's got a podcast. I'll share all that stuff in the description. I'll also put in the comments below. I follow him everywhere religiously. It's crazy, but it's true. And even if I don't catch him live, I still watch the replay. Oh, Robert, thank you so much for being here. And see, I knew we could not just talk a little bit. And that's why thank you so much for coming back, because Robert, he said, he's like, Olga, you know, because we talked about me doing this whole, I got to do this whole man thing. And Roberts was for it and gave me some pointers. And I feel like he can help me put out what I know. Anyway, so hopefully, Robert, you'll come back again. And
to be continued.
To be continued, right. Definitely, because I'm passionate about this. And I'm so glad that you see it, you understand it. You have years and wisdom beyond mine. And I think the male-female dynamic that we're having right here is, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
But
good.
We can go on for hours. So, oh, bless you, Robert. Thank you so much. And
yeah, you're welcome. It's all the men out there. I have immense amount of compassion for, you know, where they're at and the struggles that have been, you know, put in your or the road bumps. Like even the fellow that brought up the text or the comment. I didn't mean to disparage him based on the spelling, but you can tell that there's somebody in there who is in pain. Right. And they're looking around and they don't know how to get out of their pain. They just don't know how to get out of their pain. And I think that's where you start. Right. Number one, know that you're in pain. Number two, know that you don't know how to get out of your pain. And there's other things you can do about that. Maybe in a later date, we could talk about those things. Yeah. Cause I also wanted to share, Tanya was doing some real cool comments. I mean, she's like, who cares? And this is based after we read that little comment. Who cares how much support you have, you in caps,
have to want to be free to overcome. So it's along the lines of what you're saying, and that pain being in the way. And Tanya, thank you for the comment, but
She's right. She's right, actually.
She is. Yeah. She is. And I'm really glad that she posted that. And because I don't know if it happens to YouTube, but Rumble will never let me, I'll never see the replay of the live chat like I can on YouTube. So I actually screenshot this stuff. When it's some good comments, I'm like, screenshot. So Robert, to be continued. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Wonderful rest of your day. I'll be in touch. And like I said, everyone, I'll put you in contact with Robert, because believe me, there's more than what you see here. This is just one little snowflake of a man. Meaning, if you're a big, what's my example I'm trying to look for? Like,
if you're a big flake, is that what you're saying?
No. No, I'm thinking a snowball, right? It starts small, and then it goes
right.
Like, meaning,
there you go. Right.
You know, what you have to say based on my comments and my points is so just not even scratching the surface of what I know. You know what I mean? So for those who don't really know you, you're a wealth of information, wisdom, funny as shit. I don't know.
I have my moments. Well, let's make another date to come back on the show. We'll talk some more.
Awesome, Robert. Thank you so much. And guys, I'm gonna take a quick break. I'll be right back. You know that, right? I'll be right back. Right back. Starting. No, not starting now. Oh my God. Now I'm getting nervous. I'll be right back, guys. Right back. Be ready. Get your coffee or tea, whatever, popcorn, whatever it is. We're coming back. I'm wrapping it up with some reaction. We'll see. I got it. Be right back. Ciao. Welcome back. Welcome back, all you beautiful, amazing people. How you doing? What's going on? To the last segment. As always, reaction video. I have a video queued up, guys. And unless somebody gives me a 20 super chat, and that's, your super chat requests get high priority, number 1. 2, if you're a member, locals member included, you get priority. And then if none of those, then I do the vote, and you guys vote, and then boom. But I didn't do the vote today because I already did this vote, and it was like the next one in line as far as like the highest votes. So, drum roll to the fact that this song came out a couple weeks ago. I've done a few reactions from this artist already. Loving him. Again, you guys, somebody, one of you audience viewers, subscribers, I love you. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. And don't trust YouTube. I'm telling you, you got to click the all notification bell. And if you see them coming up, like a live stream's coming up, click the notify me, because I see the analytics and it'll show me like how many the percentage of people that are actually clicking the notification, because the whole point of this is that I'm the only one that's really doing real live raw reactions. Unedited, unscripted, boom. And it's your energy that makes it. I know I say it for all the newcomers, like all the new people. But thank you so much, guys, for being here, for waiting. You got your drink, you got popcorn, your tea, your coffee, whatever it is. You ready? I hope you don't have to go to a meeting or anything like that. And hold on. Give me one. Okay. Of course, this is so you guys can see my reaction. Don't know if you guys seen this video yet, but I'm going to do Ren, his latest. Again, one of the ones that you voted for. And I think this dropped 10 days ago. Ren Animal Flow. Don't know what I'm getting into. Yes, I've reacted to a couple of his songs before. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies. All of you. Are you ready? Let me see the super chats real quick. Just because I don't want you guys, not just super chats, your chats in general. What do you guys think? I'm going? You ready? Thank you for the emojis, Victor. And of course, hello, Victor. Hello, Elise, Axtina, Gregory Paul, Sean Henry, Billy Joe. Hello, everyone. Hope you guys are still here. Or if you walked away, I hope you're back. You're back, baby. I'm live on Rumble, on YouTube, and on Twitch. I did Twitter a couple times, but I'm like, I guess I don't have enough following on Twitter. Consider following me on Twitter, guys. Share this content. And like I've said in the last live, tag me. When you share something of me and you tag me, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to respond. I'm going to actually retweet it, like if it's on Twitter, but also Instagram. Let me know. Let's make this louder so people can find us. It's not about me. It's about us. All right, guys. Well, without further ado. Wait. Oh, wait. The Rational Texan on Rumble just said, Rumble's notification has been working pretty reliably. I didn't even know Rumble had a notification. What? I got to look that up, or let me know how to do that so I can tell people how to do that. Oh, it is a great music video. What's up? The Rational Texan has given me a thumbs up and a cool sunglasses emoji face. See? That is already helping my energy. You see that? You see how it works? I love you. All right. We're going. I'm going. We're going. Starting. All right. Real, live, raw reaction. Ren, Animal Flow. Starting now.
Animal flow. You're in the mind of a cannibal king, where chaos and anarchy roam, and trouble is bubbling under the skin. A certain insanity shows whenever I pick up the mic and begin. Whenever these words that I write with my pen come alive, they ignite like I pulled out the pin. animal flow. Out in the jungle, I'm ready for war. I'm beating your brains with a bat and I'm swinging it back, and it's spooky, your bike is on board. Lord of the cannibals, bro. A murderous mind that you can't ignore. I wait and react with combat on the counter attack on the king of the jungle, I roar.
Animal.
I'm loving this. I don't know. I mean, animal, I get it. I get some mind. I get it. Hold on. But I'm really loving all these people with these animal masks. But that one's got the lizard. Gecko lizard. Oh, look at that cannibal. Skin. Animal flow. Okay. This is getting deep. Kind of dark.
Animal.
But I like the beat. Did you guys see a rabbit? I just saw a rabbit. Dude, I don't know why. Now I see a rabbit like the Neo, the Matrix. We're like, ready to go down the rabbit hole. See that? Is that not a rabbit right there? Right there. Just saying.
Animal flow, I'm the flow CEO. I've got mountains of murderous rhymes. Mountain volcanic, I blow and cause mayhem and panic. There's no
Come on, don't tell me this doesn't have Matrix Neo feel right here.
where to run from my mind. I'm an impassable foe, never slowing, just growing and flowing with.
Guys, it's so much always to unpack with these kind of songs. So they're pumping out these lyrics like unbelievable. So of course I'm going to miss things. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, when I do the live reactions or does any reaction, I interrupt as needed, as whatever comes through me, as I'm inspired and all the above. And then I'll play it from the top without interruption. And the timestamps will be in the description below and in the comments. Thank you.
Intricate lines, yes, I will dig in my teeth when I bite like a beast. Blood, I drink it like wine.
Beast blood, I drink it that wine.
Animal flow, out in the wilderness I will be king. Sit on my throne, I'm the Lord of the Rings. Out on my own, I'm a terrible thing. Animal skins over my shoulders.
I like his suit. I got to tell you, I like the outfit. Why white? Again. Why am I feeling White Rabbit? Just saying.
Cycling, they will be clothing my sins. I came to win over and over again. I'll take your life with a grin.
Animal. Animal.
I mean, it's weird. It's definitely weird, but loving the beat.
Animal. Mary had the little lamb whose fleece was white as snow. It made the blood look so much redder when I slit its throat. Watch it drip, drop, till the ground was soaked. Oh, Mary, Mary, quite contrary how the blood it flows. Horrific, explicit.
God, oh my God. I'm just telling you, this guy is, oh my God. God, it's so hot. I don't even know why. It's just, again, the flow. One more time. I just rewinded just a little bit.
Oh, Mary, Mary, quite contrary how the blood it flows. Horrific, explicit, I be parasitic, acidic, I'm eating your flesh. Don't fidget, I'm livid, not mentally with it. I get kinda sick when I'm stressed. I am the I am the storm, I am the fury, I am the scorn, I am the belly, I am the beast. Yes, I am, yes, I am, yes, I am, yes, I'm an animal, yes, I'm an animal. Yes, sometimes the things I say are irrational. Yes, sometimes the things I...
Yes, what I say are sometimes irrational.
You are quite radical, yes, I will be waging war on the capital. Yes, I will burn the houses of parliament down, because hypocrites, they burn quite easily. Wow, burn.
When I laugh, it's just like, irony, right? The hypocrites so easily wowed.
Yes, I will burn the houses of parliament down, because hypocrites, they burn quite easily. Wow, burn and pillage.
I had to look on his face.
It altered the ground, your illegitimate king lost his crown. Animal flow. Show no mercy under my rule. I won't be kind, I will be cruel. Down on my foes in a paddling pool. Yes, I'm tyrannical, bro. So never mistake a man for a fool. I'll take your ignorance right back to school and teach you a lesson for testing my cool.
Oh my God. And we already know he has like an animal theme to a lot of his, right? Like the first one I did, the high wren, right? With the pig head. So he's got an animal thing. There's some dark.
Animal. Animal. Animal.
What? I mean, Jesus. See, some of these things are just so overloaded. How can you possibly unpack this, right? Especially live, unedited. My God. And for those who've already seen this, they probably like looked it up or researched it or maybe dissected the, every lyric. I'm wondering if they were all like, aren't like we're just ultimately we're animals, right? Humans are animals. Okay. That was intense. And I know his stuff is intense. But this one, God, usually it comes to me, right? Like I get this intuition and stuff. Like, I don't want the visual of the video to really dictate what I think or feel from this song. I'll be honest with you. I was really kind of like mesmerized, kind of in that flow of the beat. That, this is from the top, like first time reaction. All right, from the top without interruption, and then I'll read your chats. Woo, baby.
Animal flow. You're in the mind of a cannibal king, where chaos and anarchy roam, and trouble is bubbling under the skin. A certain insanity shows whenever I pick up the mic and begin.
You see how I know I said I wasn't gonna interrupt.
Whenever these words that I write with my pen come alive, they ignite like I pulled out the pen. Animal flow, out in the jungle, I'm ready for war. I'm beating your brains with a bat, I'm swinging it back, and it's spooky, your bikes I'm bored. Lord of the cannibals, bro, a murderous mind that you can't ignore. I wait and react with combat on the counter attack on the king of the jungle, I roar. Animal. Animal flow, I'm the flow CEO. I've got mountains of murderous rhymes. Mountain volcanic, I blow and cause mayhem and panic. There's nowhere to run from my mind. I'm an impassable flow, never slowing, just growing and flowing with intricate lines. Yes, I will dig in my teeth when I bite like a beast. Blood, I drink it like wine. Animal flow, out in the wilderness I will be king. Sit on my throne, I'm the Lord of the Rings. Out on my own, I'm a terrible thing. Animal skins over my shoulders like bling. They will be clothing my sins. I came to win over and over again. I'll take your life with a grin. Animal. 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 Mary had the little lamb whose fleece was white as snow. It made the blood look so much redder when I slit its throat. Watch it drip, drop, till the ground was soaked. Oh, Mary, Mary, quite contrary how the blood it flows. Horrific, explicit, I feed parasitic, acidic, I'm eating your flesh. Don't fidget, I'm livid, not mentally with it. I get kinda sick when I'm stressed. I am the I am the storm, I am the fury, I am the scorn, I am the belly, I am the beast. Yes, I am, yes, I am, yes, I am, yes, I'm an animal, yes, I'm an animal. Yes, sometimes the things I say are irrational. Yes, sometimes the things I do are quite radical. Yes, I will be waging war on the capital. Yes, I will burn the houses of parliament down, cause hypocrites, they burn quite easily. Wow, burn and pillage it all to the ground. Your illegitimate king lost his crown. Animal flow, show no mercy under my rule. I won't be kind, I will be cruel. Down on my foes in the paddling pool. Yes, I'm tyrannical, bro, so never mistake a man for a fool. I'll take your ignorance right back to school and teach you a lesson for testing my cool. Animal. Animal.
Well, that was fun.
I tried always discreet
in a
underwear.
really
It fit
weird
like a-
way, but it was. It was. No, 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 no. Oh my God. Jesus. That just took me so. Animal flow. The fact that even his makeup, he had that darkness. So he's the only one not wearing an animal head. The whole black and white. There's a black and white. Chess scheming. All this shit's not coming to me. What's up? I'm going to look at your live chats. Again, if you're watching this replay, make sure to leave a comment. Okay. I'm a little beside myself. Let's see. Let me know, guys. Have you already watched this? What did you think? You know, if you've already watched it before, and if it's your first time watching it, let me know in the live chat right now. And I don't know, the reaction was the reaction. Live, real, raw. Hope it made sense. Wonder if you guys are feeling what I felt or kind of saw picked up. And maybe I'm way off. But I enjoyed it. I really liked it. I thought it was kind of badass. Just for lack of better words. Wesley Korn, Ren don't get it. A lot of reverb noise. Huh. You're talking about me or? I'm not sure. Tanya, did you see this? Oh, that was your first time watching it? Oh, I hope you enjoyed it, like, you know, with all my interruption. But then again, I tried not to the second time. Interesting. I mean, clearly, you know, he's an up-and-coming artist, and he's unique and special, and I've enjoyed him so far. I did enjoy that song. Again, even if I don't like a song from an artist that I do like, I'm sure it's not going to make me want to stop watching them or listening to them. I'm just like, okay, I'm not really into that song. Or who knows? Maybe I do one of their songs. I'm like, ew. But Ren is like Tom. Like, even Tom, regardless of his lyrics, he has a good voice too. Dax, definitely great voice. You know, besides the lyrics. But Ren, talk about some complicated shit. He's got a different depth. I'm loving this. These artists, Ren, Dax, Tom, I mean, even Ryan Upchurch, they should be the fucking rock stars of today's day. Okay? They probably are, and they're being suppressed. Clearly. Because they're independent artists. But the audience, the consumer, has all the power. And as far as I'm concerned, I've been, you know, I've given up the mainstream. And this is so awesome because it was hard for me to find new songs, new artists that I like. And I would go to Spotify and I would typically like songs from different countries. I still do. But like, it's so cool that without you guys, I don't know if I would ever found this stuff. So cool. So awesome. Yes. It also made me think of that stupid song. Oh my God! One of my BFs, she loves that song. And just the other day, a friend of mine was singing it. Like, he's like, what does the fox say? And I'm like, oh my God. Because this girl was so crazy about it when that song came out. Anytime I hear it or somebody sings it, I can't not think of her. And I actually like the song too. But yeah, I had that little what does the fox say? I got you. It makes sense. But again, is it really the beat? Nah. Because the animal heads and stuff? Okay. All right. Well. Shut up. Tanya just said, Olga will probably hate me, but this made me think of Andrew Tate. The song? Did it? I can see that. I can see it. I think I can see what you're saying. But that's the thing. Is he making fun of it? Because I felt like he was clearly like pretending to be this new type of aristocrats, right? These influencers. Ooh, good point. I like that. I like that view. Thank you for sharing that. It was all the animal heads, Tanya says. Huh? Look at Wesley Korn says, I've looked through his catalog, not impressed. Tom has more meaning in his songs. Church smokes him. You're talking about the church song, right? I did a reaction to that. For those who don't know, I have a playlist with all the reactions. Check it out. Because I also saw a comment the other day of somebody saying, hey, you should, I guess they commented on one of the Jelly Roll videos that I did, or Struggle Jennings. And they're like, you should do glitter. I did glitter, guys. If you don't know, look it up. I have to respond to that comment. I meant to like add the link. But yeah, always check out the playlist of reaction videos. The Rational Texan. It's based basically on the book Animal Farm by George Orwell. I mean, I got that, right? Like, and the fact that we're animals. Yeah. Totally. The 7 laws on the wall are the big giveaway. Right. But see, I didn't want to, once I started reading the wall thing, it was the second replay that I'm like, I won't interrupt. And I am a woman of my word. Yeah, you see that? Like, there's always going to be something more I'm going to take out after I watch it a couple more times. Well, guess what? That could be a part of our conversation peak for the next live stream. Again, if you're not on Locals, join me on Locals. I'm going to be doing a live there this week. I'm not sure. I got to look at, I don't know if I can do it today, but if not, I don't want to promise you anything, but just keep your eyes open. I'm going to be going Locals. And I got to wrap it up. In fact, it was like 2:22 when I said that. I'm like, ooh, that's a sign. That's a sign. Just let it go right now. Just put the pipe down. Let it go. And I will see you guys very soon. Especially I'll see you on Locals before the next live stream. And if not, my schedule, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 12:30 p.m. And if you guys submitted your vote, I'll check out the vote in the live chat on YouTube, because I'm thinking about switching Friday because it seems to be my slowest day, or the least amount of people will watch. And I found through the analytics that Sundays, like most of my audience anyway, is online. I thought, well, maybe instead of me always doing my Silent Sunday, I'll do Silent Saturday and do Sundays with you guys. Like, if it's better for you, it's better for me as well. Like, and let's try that out. But for now, I'm still doing Wednesday. So Wednesday, no matter what's Reaction Wednesday, put a vote up, be in touch, stay in contact. Subscribe if you haven't already. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Rumble, smash the like everywhere you're at. All right, guys. Until next time, until very soon, especially for your local members and members on this channel as well. I will keep you posted first and foremost. Until next time, thank you for being here. Thank you for everything. Hope you enjoyed. Much love, many blessings. And I'll talk to you soon.